So Article 7 has Section 23. So what does the Article 7 of the Philippine Constitution? So the Constitution rests on 7 basic principles. They are popular sovereignty, limited government, separation of powers, federalism, checks and balances, republicanism, and individual rights. So let's go to Section 1 and Section 2 to Section 3. So the Section 1, it is said that the executive power shall be vested in the President of the Philippines. The Section 2 naman, no person may be elected President unless he is a natural-born Filipino citizen of the Philippines, a registered voter, able to read and write, at least 40 years of age on the day of the election, and a resident of the Philippines for at least 10 years immediately preceding such election. While the Section 3, there shall be a Vice President who shall have the same qualification and term of office and be elected with and in the same manner as the President. So he may be removed from the office in the same manner as the President, but the Vice President may be appointed as a member of the Cabinet. Such appointed requires no confirmation. So the Section 1 and Section 2, it talks about the qualification of the President. You may be elected to be a President if you have the qualification such as the natural born of the citizen of the Philippines and a registered voter. Also, you have to be at least 40 years of the age at the day of the election, and you have the 10 years immediately preceding such election. But the Section 3, it concludes about the Vice President. Also, the Vice President should have the same manner as the President, and also the Vice President was the second President of the Philippines that helps to run the country.
In Section 4, the President and the Vice President shall be elected by direct vote of the people for a term of 6 years, which shall begin at noon on the 13th day of June. Next following the day of the election shall end at noon at the same day. The President shall not be eligible for any re-election. No person who has succeeded as President and has served as such for more than 4 years shall be qualified for election to the same office at any time. In Section 5, it stated that the President and the Vice President or the acting President, before they enter on the execution of their office, they shall take the following oath or affirmation, which means namanumpa. In Section 6, the President shall have an official residence. The salaries of the President and the Vice President shall be determined by law and shall not be decreased during their tenure, which means during sa panahon ng panlungkuran. No increase in said compensation shall take effect until after the expiration of the term of the incumbent during which such increase was approved. In Section 7, the President-elect and the Vice President-elect shall assume office at the beginning of the term. In Section 8, in case of death, permanent disability, removal from office, or resignation of the President, bali ang Vice President shall become the President to serve the unexpired term. In case of death, permanent disability, removal from office, or resignation of both the President and Vice President, the President of the Senate, in case of his inability, the Speaker of the House or President shall then act as President until the President or Vice President shall have been elected and qualified. In Section 9, whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the Vice President during the term for which he was elected, the President shall nominate a Vice President from among the members of the Senate, and the House of Representatives who shall assume office upon confirmation by a majority vote of all the members of the both House of the Congress voting separately.
In Section 10, it stated that the Congress shall, at 10 o'clock in the morning of the third day after the vacancy in the offices of the President and Vice President occurs, convene in accordance with its rules without need of call and within 7 days, enact a law calling a special election to elect a President and a Vice President to be held not earlier than 40 days nor later than 60 days from the time of such call. So for example, kanang mabakante ang position sa President o the Vice President due to some reasons, dapat 3 days in section 10, it is stated that on the third day of the vacancy, kung tulo ka adlaw na ang vacant, at 10 a.m. in the morning, sa ikatulong adlaw, dapat mag-elect na sila og president o vice president o katong ilang mga president nga candidate ila tong i-elect og balik. Unja, dapat not later than 40 days or 60 days or 2 months, dapat maka-elect na sila sa president o vice president. In section 11, it states that whether the president transmits to the Senate of Speaker and the House of Representatives his written declaration that is unable to discharge the power and duties of his office, and he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by Vice President as acting President. So for example, ang President kay nag-violate na law or ang President kay nag-declare nga kanang na siya sakit and then kailangan siya mo undergo og treatment. So, mo-declare siya sa Senate President nga kanang nakoy sakit, mawa kong ingani 6 months or mga 1 year kay kailangan ko mag-treatment. So, automatic na ang Vice President mo'y mo-act as President. And then, ang Section 12, it states that in case of serious illness of the President, the public shall be informed in the state of his health. The members of the Cabinet in charge of national security and foreign relations and the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines shall not be denied access to the President during such illness. So for example, masakit ang Presidente, dapat makahibaw or like kanang giingon nila nga dapat kahibaw ta ng tao kung unsay nahitabo sa President or reliable ang President sa iyang sakit nga gi-declare. So, dapat makahibaw ang mga tao, tanang cabinet members, and dapat, while naa sa treatment ang President, naa gihapon ang Armed Forces of the Philippines, ang mga cabinet members nga andam mo escort niya o andam nga mo serbisyo gihapon niya og sa mga tao. In Section 13, the President, Vice President, the members of the Cabinet, and their deputies or assistants shall not, unless otherwise provide this Constitution, hold any office or employment during their tenure. So for example, mabakante ang President, Vice President, or Cabinet members, dapat mo elect na dyan na kung kinsay mo puli para ang trabaho dili ma-hold. And then sa Section 14, appointments extended by an acting President shall remain effective unless revoked by the elected President within 90 days for his assumption or reassumption of office. So for example, nasakit ang President, nipuli ang Vice President, unya naay open up nga suggestion or kanang law ang acting President, and then within 90 days naay nasud nga naay na-elect nga bagong President. So depende na niya kung ijang i-approve, meaning ma-approve to nga law, pero kung dili niya i-approve, dili na to ma-approve na law since siya naman ang President. And then in Section 15, 2 months immediately before the next presidential elections, up to the end of his term, a President or acting President shall not make appointments except temporary appointments to execute positions when continued vacancies therein will prejudice public service or endanger public safety. So, 2 months immediately before the next presidential elections, muna na ilang gingon niya kanang mag-gun ban, mag-liquor ban, kay, di ba, kanang bawal mo gamit og makahubog ng mga ilimnon, bawal mo gamit og guns, para ma-ensure ang safety sa tanan, kay di ba, diha man dyan ang mugawas ng naigipatay tungod sa politics, kanang gikulata tungod sa politics, pero ang uban, irason ra nila nga, hubog mong to, or kanang ang katong nipatay ato kay self-defense naman to. So, to avoid further injuries sa mga Filipinos like us, mo nang i-prevent nila through gun ban and liquor ban.
In this junction, I will tackle about the Section 16 to Section 19. So the Section 16 state that the President shall nominated and with the consent of the Commission on Appointments He or she can appoint the heads of the executive departments, ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, or officers of the armed forces from the rank of colonel or naval captain, and other officers whose appointments are vested in him in this constitution. So kini nagpasabot nga ang presidente adunay katungod or naa siya katungod nga muhatag o muproklamar sa usa ka opisyales or ibutang kung asa nga opisyales siya magdumala. So in continue, the section 17 states that the president shall have control of all the executive departments, bureaus, and offices. He shall ensure that the laws be faithfully executed. So, ang kani nga section nagpasabot nga ang presidente dapat aduna siya gahom nga magduma niining mga departamento kay siya dapat mamahimong usa sa mga tindog o usa sa manguna nga ang mga balaod dapat mapasubay niining mga klase-klase nga mga departamento. So in section 19 also states that the president shall be the commander-in-chief of all armed forces of the Philippines, and whenever it becomes necessary, he may call out such armed forces to prevent or suppress lawless violence, invasions, or rebellions. So kini nga section nagpasabot nga ang presidente adunay dakong gahom or siya'y magduma sa tanan nga mga manlalaban dinhi sa atong nasod. So ang presidente usab adunay higayon or adunay siya'y dakong katungod nga muhangyo or mutawag sa mga manlalaban ilabi na kung adunay pag-atake or adunay pagsakop dinhi sa atong nasod. And lastly, in section 19, except in cases of impeachment or as otherwise provided in this constitution, the president may grant reprieves, commutations, and pardons, and remit fines and forfeitures after conviction by the final judgment. So ang presidente pinaagi niining constitution aduna siya'y higayon or aduna siya'y higayon nga makahatag og extended siguro nga mga pagtuman sa usa ka opisyales ilabi na sa kadtong na impeachment ug aduna sa pud siya'y katungod sa paghatag og mga other finances or other mga atong tawagon nato nga mga balaod nga pinasubay sa konstitusyon nga haom sa ihatag sa mga opisyalis nga nahatagan og impeachment.
Anto, go.
Section 20 states that the President may contract or guarantee foreign loans on behalf of the Republic of the Philippines with the prior concurrence of the Monetary Board and subject such as limitation as may provide by the law. Section 21. No treaty or international agreement shall be valid and effective unless concurred by at least 2/3 of all the members of the Senate. Section 22. The President shall submit to the Congress within 30 days from the opening of every regular session as the basis of the General Appropriation Bill a budget of expenditures and sources of financing, including receipts from existing and proposed revenue measures. Section 23. The President shall address the Congress at the opening of its regular session. He may also appear before it at any other time.
Article 7, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution vests executive power of the President of the Philippines. The President is the head of state and head of government and functions as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. As Chief Executive, the President exercises control over all the executive departments, bureaus, and offices. The President of the Philippines is elected by direct vote by the people for a term of 6 years. He may only serve for one term and is ineligible for re-election. The term of the President of the Philippines starts at noon of the 30th day of June after the election. The qualifications for an individual aspiring to become the President of the Philippines are outlined in Article 7, Section 2 of the 1987 Constitution. According to the Constitution, an individual may become President provided the midst of the following criteria. A natural-born Filipino, a registered voter, must be able to read and write, 40 years of age at the day of the election, and must have resided in the Philippines 10 years before the election is held. The Vice President of the Philippines is elected by direct vote by the people for a term of 6 years and may run for election once. The term of the Vice President of the Philippines starts at noon of the 30th day of June after a regular election is held. The qualifications for aspirants to be the office of the Vice President is outlined in Article 7, Section 3. According to the Constitution, the qualification for the President is the same for the Vice President. According to the Article 7, Section 16, the President may appoint anyone to executive departments with the consent of the Commission on Appointments. Names of individuals nominated to cabinet posts are submitted to the Commission on Appointments for their consideration. An individual may not assume his post in a given department unless confirmed by the Commission on Appointments. However, the Constitution provides for individuals becoming cabinet secretaries in an acting capacity before they are confirmed. According to Article 7, Section 16 of the Constitution, the President may appoint anyone to cabinet post even if Congress is in recess. These appointments are valid until the Commission on Appointments disapproves them, or at the end of the next session of Congress. And here are the qualifications for local government officers to barangay officials.